Hey folks, today we are working on adding and subtracting rational expressions with different denominators. So this is a follow-up to the adding and subtracting with the same denominator. So let's think about like 1/2 plus 3/4. We know we can convert these to decimal and add them, but it's almost easier if we just leave it in a fractional form. We can't add 1/2 plus 3/4 because they're not the same denominator. So we need to get them to be the same denominator. So we know the least common denominator, which is the smallest term that two or more terms can multiply to be. So for example, if we're looking for the least common denominator of 2 and 4 is just a number,
that these two terms, 2 and 4, can multiply to be. So what's the smallest thing that 2 and 4 can multiply to be? Well, that's 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So we don't have to multiply the second thing by anything. It's already 4. But we know the LCD, the least common denominator, of 2 and 4 equals 4. So then we have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator so that we multiply by 1, so we're not really changing the number, just how it looks, so that we get 4 in the denominator. So I know to get 2 to multiply to be 4, I have to multiply it by 2, and multiply the top and the bottom. And this one, other one, we don't need to. So we're going to say 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. And if we were to simplify this back again, 2/4, divide each of these by 2, we get 1/2, because 2 is half of 4. So then plus 3/4, so we have 2/4 plus 3/4, which is a total of 5/4. So this is the same general idea we're doing. We're going to be coming across expressions, rational expressions that look like these, that have algebraic expressions in the denominator and the numerator maybe, and we're going to need to get them to have a common denominator before we can add or subtract them, whichever the case is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to factor the heck out of everything. So we're going to always try to factor first. So let's factor. So the top 5x minus 1 we can't factor, and 3 we can't factor, but the denominators of each of these are trinomial. Well, there's a trinomial and there's a binomial, so let's factor this trinomial first. We've got a trinomial. We need to multiply to be 2 and add to be -3. So x and an x. What multiplies to be 2 and adds to be 3? So 2 is 1 times 2, or -1 times -2, or of course vice versa, 2 times 1 and -2 times -1. Looks like if we were to add these though, 1 times 2 gives us 3, and -1 plus -2 is -3, so we're looking for this bottom pair. So we need -1 and -2, so this is the factor form of my first fraction. It's like the bottom of the other one, we're factoring by GCF. So we're going to factor a 2 out of each of these, so we've got a GCF of 2. 2 times x is going to give us 2x, and 2 times -2 is going to give us -4. So sometimes we already have some common things in each of these. So how we get the common things in the rest of these, we need to have, let's see, so our least common denominator is going to be, we have an x minus 2 in there, we need a 2 in there, and we need an x minus 1. So this one's shared, so we don't have to write it twice. We need to have this one, and we need to have this one, which says we need to multiply our first fraction. We already have x minus 1 and x minus 2. We need to multiply the first fraction top and bottom by 2. And the second fraction we need to multiply by x minus 1. Because it has a 2x minus 2, we just need to multiply by x minus 1. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to have 5x minus 1 times 2, and 2 times x minus 1, x minus 2, plus 3, and then we said the second one we need to multiply the top and bottom by x minus 1 since it's not both the top and the bottom. So we're going to multiply by x minus 1, and in the bottom we're going to have 2, x minus 2, and an x minus 1 as well. We multiply the same thing on top and bottom and the same thing on top and bottom, just like we did up here, only the difference is we have that binomial for some of our top and bottom multiplying. Now we notice our bottom, we have 2, x minus 2, x minus 1, 2, x minus 2, x minus 1. Our denominators are the same, so just like up here when our denominators were the same, we're going to add the numerators. Only here we've got a few more parts to it, so we've got 2, 5x plus or minus 1, and we're adding because this is a plus sign in the middle, plus 3x minus 1, and if we notice up here we don't add the denominators, we just keep the denominator the same,
So we're just going to copy over this denominator to get, let's see here, 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. And then we can simplify a little bit. So 2 times 5x and 2 times negative 1 is going to be 10x minus 2, and 3 times x and 3 times negative 1 is 3x minus 3, all over 2x minus 1, x minus 2. Combine my terms, I'm going to get 13x for my x's in the numerator. I'm going to get minus 5, all divided by 2 times x minus 1 times x minus 2. Alright, so here's the problem that we're going to run into sometimes. This is not simplifiable, and so I'm okay if you leave it like this. I'm also okay if you multiply everything back out, but I think this is just easiest. So this is an answer that I would accept. Alright, so our first step is going to be factor. Our second step is going to be determine the LCD, our lowest common denominator, for both of these parts, or however many parts we have. Our third thing is going to be multiply each by the missing parts of the LCD, so we multiply by this and we multiply by this in each of those parts, and then we can go ahead and add the individual parts. And then, of course, we always have the last step, which is to simplify. Okay, so let's do another one of these first for another example. It looks like instead of adding, though, we're subtracting. So my first thing I'm always going to do is try to factor. And we're going to try to factor everything. So my numerator can't factor. We've got 5 and a 1, which has no common factors other than 1. 5 and 3 is not going to factor as well. So let's just factor the denominators. So we're going to get 5x plus 1 divided by, okay, so we're going to have x and an x. We need two numbers that multiply to be negative 3, but add to be negative 2. So negative 3 is going to be 1 times negative 3, or of course negative 1 times 3. So which of these pairs, let's see, 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2, which is what we want. This other one's name is 1 plus 3, which is positive 2, so that's not going to work. Okay, so we need x plus 1 and x minus 3 is our factor of our first one, minus 5x minus 3, all divided by, going to factor the second one, so multiplies to be negative 6, adds to be negative 1, so I'm going to use this Xbox method instead of writing this out now. So I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 6 and add to be negative 1. So 6 is 1 and 6, and then 2 and 3. So we need some of those, one of which is negative, because the negative times a positive is a negative, that adds to be negative 1. So it looks like 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. If we use negative 3 and positive 2, that's going to give us negative 6 when we multiply. And when we add them, it's going to give us negative 1. So this denominator is going to be x minus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, so let's look for our LCD. Our LCD, we've got x minus 3 in common. Looks like we're also going to have x plus 1 and an x plus 2. So it says we're going to multiply the left one by x plus 2 and the right one by x plus 1. So we're going to have 5x plus 1 times, we say x plus 2. Oh, we probably should put that in parentheses. All divided by 3. And order doesn't
really matter when you're multiplying, so you can multiply in whatever order you want to. Minus, we've got 5x minus 3 in the numerator. All times, let's see, our missing one is x plus 1. All divided by x plus 1, x plus 2, and x minus 3. And now that our denominators are the same, after we've multiplied, so we multiplied, but after our denominators are the same, we're going to add them together. So we're going to take the numerators, 5x plus 1 times x plus 2, minus 5x minus 3, x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. And then we need to simplify each of these individually. So we're at the simplify step, so let's multiply each of these. So we've got 5x squared plus 10x plus 1x plus 11x's plus 2.
5x times 2 is 10, and 1 times x is 1, so if 10 plus 1 is 11x's plus 2. All that minus, doing the same thing here, 5x squared. 5x times 1 is 5x, minus 3x is 2x's, minus 1, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, not negative 1. All divided by x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x plus 3, x minus 3, excuse me. Okay, so 5x minus 5x squared is going to cancel. 11x minus 2x is going to be 9x's. 2 minus negative 3 is going to be 2 plus 3, which is 5. All divided by x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. And that looks like our fully simplified answer. This we can't factor with a GCF or anything, so we're just going to have to leave it as 9x plus 5 divided by x plus 1, x plus 2 times x minus 3. And that's our fully simplified form. Okay, so is there a bunch to this? Yes, but is this something we've done before? We've done all these individual pieces. We factored before. The new part might be to multiply the top and bottom by our missing part. So our missing part here was x plus 2. Our missing part over here was, let's see, that's the same, x plus 1. So this is our missing part. And remember, you can write it whatever order you'd like to. I just wrote it so that they're all in the same order at the bottom. And then we've multiplied these before. We've done that before. And then we've subtracted like terms before. And then if it's simplified, it's simplified. That's all we're looking for. So is there kind of a little bit to this? Definitely. I'm going to leave this up here for a minute in case you need to copy this down. So distribute it out, distribute it out, distribute it out, distribute it out. Simplify this one, minus, simplify this one, and don't forget to put parentheses on the second one. We're subtracting each of these three terms, not just the first one. Combine my like terms. Combine my like terms. 11x minus 2x is 9x. 2 minus negative 3 is 2 plus 3, which is 5. Then just copy my denominator over. Okay, folks, good luck. This was simplifying, adding, and subtracting with different exponential expressions in our denominator.